Boyd Barrett, please.
Thanks, Ciarán Comhairle. Taoiseach, as was just alluded to, and as the whole country knows, teachers and Gardaí have felt forced to embark on a significant campaign of industrial action over the next few weeks in pursuit of fairness in relation to pay. And indeed, I think there's going to be mass meetings of nurses over the coming couple of weeks to discuss pay issues as well. Now, one of the several issues at the heart of this looming industrial action and the anger and frustration felt by teachers, by guards, and I think we'll see it expressed by nurses increasingly, is the issue of equality in pay. And the call, which was very clearly articulated last Thursday by the ASTI in the demonstration I participated in outside the gates of this House, where young teachers, but also older teachers, stood together demanding equal pay for equal work. Very basic and simple principle. And I was very struck, Taoiseach, by newly qualified and new entrant teachers getting up and explaining how angry and frustrated that they were after coming out of college, getting their qualifications, in some cases very, very high levels of qualifications, and working beside other teachers where they were getting paid €6,000 or €7,000 or €8,000 less than somebody working in the same school with the same qualifications just because they had entered service after 2011. Now, Taoiseach, my question in that regard is very, very simple. Do you accept that that inequality in pay is unacceptable, that it breaches the most fundamental principle of equality, that people should be treated equally? You know, in the 1970s, we got equality for pay for women, which didn't exist previously, and nobody would dare to suggest we should have anything less inequality on pay between men and women. We have equality legislation which outlaws discrimination against people on pretty much any grounds or basis. Isn't it in line, very simply, with the fundamental principle of equality that teachers, nurses, guards should get the same pay for doing the same work?
Thank you, Deputy Boyd Barrett.
So will you commit to re-establishing that equality and ending the pay apartheid, which is one of the burning issues angering teachers, nurses and guards, and indeed forcing many young people who might go into those professions to leave this country because you continue to allow that discrimination against them?
Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy Boyd Barrett. Well, the previous government, once removed, made a decision not to pay young graduate nurses particular increments, and it's only been now that the Minister for Health, Minister Harris, has been able to deal with that and approve those. You make the point about teachers. This is obviously a matter of serious concern for the teachers. I'd make the point here that it was of such serious concern with the TUI and members of the INTO that they sat down with the Minister for Education under the existing arrangements, and a new deal for new entrant teachers was implemented for the INTO and for the TUI, and that deal is on offer also to the ASTI. That means, Deputy Boyd Barrett, that the starting pay for new entrant members will increase by 15% between the 31st of August this year and the 1st of January 2018. That is from €31,009 to €35,602. It also means that an individual member recruited since the 1st of September 2015 will see a 22% increase in their pay between the 31st of August 2016 and the 1st of January 2018. That is from €31,009 to €37,723. That agreement will be implemented in 2 phases in January 2017 and January 2018, and it results in an increase of up to €2,000 per year for new teachers at the start of their careers, an overall earnings increase over the course of that career of about €135,000. That agreement will apply to members of the teachers' unions, which have signed up to the Lansdowne Road Agreement, that is TUI and INTO, and cannot apply to ASTI as things stand, but will if they decide to do business with the Minister. Following the announcement, Minister wrote to the ASTI to inform them that he is quite willing, to conclude a similar agreement with them within the framework of the Lansdowne Road Agreement. ASTI, as you are aware, Deputy Boyd Barrett, is now the only trade union within the education and training sector to have rejected the Lansdowne Road Agreement. These are very substantial figures on the table and agreed with 2 major unions, the INTO and the TUI. Thus, I would ask that the ASTI would again engage with Minister Bruton, who under Lansdowne Road has been in the position to bring about an agreement now being implemented for 2 of the other major unions.
Thank you, Deputy Boyd Barrett.
The only groups of workers who have balloted on this issue are the ASTI and the Garda representative unions. The INTO and the TUI have not balloted. Okay? So the ASTI and the Guards have democratically made a decision, and indeed I suspect if it was put to the rank and file of the TUI and the INTO and for that of the nurses, we might have a different response. And one of the key issues, and it was absolutely clear in that rally from these young teachers, and these weren't political people, these weren't radical people, they were just young teachers, and they have thought about this deeply. They don't want to be on strike, but they are absolutely raging about the question of inequality. And your reference, Taoiseach, to figures of increases, I am well familiar with those, but they are not equality. That's the point. And it was absolutely clear from those young teachers who are going out, they want equality. And I asked you, do you accept that that pay inequality, that pay apartheid, that discrimination against young people coming into these professions just because they happen to come in after 2011 is unacceptable and must be done away with? Because that is what they believe, Taoiseach. It is pay apartheid. And the scale of it, even with the changes you are proposing, the increases you are proposing, teachers coming in after 2011, even with that, will earn about €160,000 less over their lifetime. That's a very significant chunk of what it would cost to put a roof over their head over the course of their lifetime, even with your proposed changes. Will you commit to equality? That's the question. And will you acknowledge that the teachers and the Guards and any other group that choose to fight for equality, and if necessary take industrial action to achieve equality, are absolutely right to pursue the principle of equality?
Taoiseach.
Well, the INTO balloted to stay within the Lansdowne Road Agreement. And the figures I've read out to you are very substantial figures. We've had debates here in the last period about the minimum wage, about low-paid workers, about a reduction in the USC, about the abolition of income tax for those who are very low-paid. These figures for young teachers starting off their careers are quite substantial, up to $35,000 by the 1st of January 2018. And these figures have been negotiated within the range of the Lansdowne Road Agreement, in respect of which INTO actually balloted to stay within that. And obviously, if it's been successful for 2 major teacher unions, an agreement reached, you will appreciate, Deputy Boyd Barrett, that the state does not have an endless pool of money for everybody. And that's why Haddington Road was introduced. That's why Lansdowne Road has been brought in as a successor. That's why we have to have another successor after that. These are issues that can be dealt with by political decisions, but they require people sitting down and talking about the road and the strategy to bring that to fruition. And here's evidence of substantial numbers of teachers at primary level and at secondary level having agreed a timetable and increases with the Minister for Education, and I do hope that the same can apply in the case of the Garda Síochána, the AGSI and the GRA, Deputy Boyd Barrett.
Thank you very much. That